Hello and welcome. My name is Melissa Tebow,
And I'm Grayson Cooper.
and we are presenting the concept of a remotely located multi-classroom leader. And we'll tell you a little bit about what we've done and why this may be interesting to other 100K and 10 partners. To start, we'd like to share with you a video, which is a really great overview of this program, and it'll get you thinking about what the possibilities are in your context.
Coming to you in 3, 2. Good morning. Hi. Hey, Ms. Knox.
In an exciting pilot program, the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics has partnered with the College Board and Public Impact to reach rural North Carolina school districts with an excellent teacher leader.
You figured out how to change period?
The pilot uses Public Impact's opportunity culture model of a remotely located multi-classroom leader, or MCL. An MCL is an excellent teacher who leads a small teaching team by providing instructional guidance and frequent on-the-job development. Here, a mathematics teacher from the School of Science and Math serves as the MCL for a team of 5 pre-calculus teachers spread across 4 North Carolina school districts.
Ms. Knox, let me know when they're ready to share.
About once a week, she uses interactive video conferencing to model or co-teach lessons for her teachers and to teach small groups of students to provide differentiated instruction. To support and coach her teachers, the MCL observes classes and provides weekly team and individual feedback and assistance with lesson planning, all from a distance. The pilot aims to support teachers as they incorporate student-centered practices and the use of technology and real-world problems in their pre-calculus classrooms.
Today we're going to look at a video of a swinger swinging on a swing.
Students say they appreciate the chance to learn from 2 teachers, to participate in small group instruction, and to see how math connects to their lives.
What do you wonder? You're mathematicians.
The program also provides opportunities for teachers to collaborate with one another, sharing lesson plans, assessments, and teaching strategies. Teachers feel less isolated in their classrooms by working with others from across the state in this collaborative professional community. Through the remotely located MCL pilot, we hope to show how others can extend the reach of excellent teaching and provide financially sustainable, in-depth professional support for teaching teams spread across the state and the country.
You're doing a great job, a really great job.
So I'm Grayson Cooper with Public Impact. For the past decade plus, we've focused on teacher leadership and providing job-embedded professional development for all teachers, and are really excited to work with NCSSM on this first foray into virtual and remote teacher leadership.
And I'm Melissa Tebow, Vice Chancellor for Distance Education at the North Carolina School of Science and Math. We're part of the UNC system, and as such are partners in 100K and 10. And this has been a really exciting program for us because we are always trying to make available courses and opportunities and access to faculty in remote and rural communities, and that's difficult, and this is a program that would help us in that space.
So we've had a lot of success on in-person multi-classroom leadership, which now is in hundreds of schools across the country, across the US, and where we found that the teachers really appreciate the support, and we also find that excellent multi-classroom leaders are able to spread their excellence in teaching to all teachers and all students on the teams that they support. So we were really interested in the ability of remote multi-classroom leadership to be able to impact students and teachers in advanced subjects that often don't get that same level of intensive support. But before we jumped into this, we wanted to see if this concept of a remotely located multi-classroom leader was even worth doing. So first here, we were focused on determining if this could be done over a distance to build the same relationships that we see with our in-person multi-classroom leaders, if the technology worked, before we attended to the other factors here that were necessary for scale. So here we have NCSSM supporting 4 teachers in 4 districts that were up to 200 miles apart. So after a semester, and we know that after a semester pilot, we know that multi-classroom leadership and teacher leadership takes time to make an impact. And we anticipate this to be even more the case with the remote support. We wanted to share some of the results from this pilot. in addition, we also know that it takes additional time to navigate different schools in different contexts of working with different principals and different systems. So we found that there was strong demand for MCL support. The wait list was, I believe, about twice as long as the actual number of teachers that could be supported. Teachers and students appreciated the support throughout the pilot. And 3 of the 4 schools saw an increase in their AP Calculus registrations by an average of 87% over the prior year. We did see that students had a decline in confidence and aspiration to pursue higher level math courses, and that from the beginning of the semester to the end of the semester. We're not really sure what to make of this because we do know that over the course of students' high school careers that there is a decline in enthusiasm for math. So without a control group, we weren't sure if this was just the same as typical, if this might have been a greater decrease or a lesser decrease. But this is something that we'll continue to keep our eye on as we think this is a really important factor moving forward with student impact. So we wanted to highlight a few key model components. So first are that the MCL role has a few characteristics. So first is that it has a small team size. So multi-classroom leaders support up to 6 and no more than 8 team teachers. That there's a rigorous selection process for the MCL position. So this usually includes a behavioral event interview that allows to screen for leadership capabilities, as well as prior high student growth. Next, having ongoing support and training for the multi-classroom leader. In this case, we had a former principal who had worked in an opportunity culture school provide regular support to Maria. And then next, the opportunity culture principles. So all of the opportunity culture work is designed within these 5 principles. So first, reach more students with excellent teachers in their teams. Second, pay teachers more for extending their reach. Third, fund pay within regular budgets so that this is sustainable and can continue without outside funding. 4, provide protected in-school time and clarity about how to use it for planning, collaboration, and development. And then 5th, match authority and accountability to each person's responsibilities. So this first pilot centered, again, on the operations and mechanics, making sure that this was something that was worth pursuing. So the questions that we answered, for example, as a part of this, were could a remotely located multi-classroom leader connect successfully with teachers and students? How would the technology work? How could an MCL and teachers in several schools schedule the time they needed to be able to plan, collaborate, and teach together? And so now that we have the answers to these questions, in our next efforts, we're really looking to address the factors that would allow remotely located multi-classroom leadership to scale. So thinking about how can personal connections with students, how can we sustainably fund this model, and then clarifying the principal's role so that these aren't one-on-one relationships, but this is something that can work within a system that everyone is very clear on the role of the principal, the role of the provider, and the role of the multi-classroom leaders and the teachers. And then finally, aligning accountability models for the remotely located MCLs and for the in-person teachers so that they're all accountable and responsible for the same students and their success.
And every community, every state has different circumstances. And so North Carolina has the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, which is a statewide STEM high school. Not every state has a statewide STEM high school, and there are other scenarios that would be really valuable to explore in other communities, including some of these other potential providers who have been floated for potential delivery leads in other states or other communities.
So in addition to continuing our work in North Carolina and with the North Carolina School of Science and Math, we invite you to consider if this is something that would be right for either your district or for your institution. And so these are some questions that we encourage you to consider as you're thinking about this. So first, thinking about if there are policies that require schools to offer advanced courses where students or teachers might need additional support. We've often found that in this case with pre-calculus, that students need an extra boost to be able to feel comfortable with the structures and the practices needed to be successful within AP Calculus. And teachers similarly appreciate the support to have students make that leap as well. In this case, the teachers were in one case, there were 2 teachers in the high school, but who taught pre-calculus, but in many cases, they were the only pre-calculus teachers in their district. So they were able to now have this peer network that was able to provide them access to each other and to each other's practices under the guidance of an expert teacher. Other factors that could really impact the demand here is thinking about teacher turnover and chronic vacancies. Some of the districts that we worked with here had a 30-year veteran in this position. Others had a teacher that had just finished their very first year of teaching. And in each case, both of them really appreciated having this access to each other and what each other could be able to provide. As we've talked with others here, one other theme that has really evolved is that the provider prestige is really an important factor for teachers being able to sign on to something like this. We know that often teachers in advanced courses have a lot of autonomy, and that's what principals use as a key factor for retaining their talent, is allowing them to be able to teach in the way that they want, and that's an important thing to be able to retain. So knowing that they're being able to offer and that this support is going to be really worthwhile, which I think was a huge asset of working with the North Carolina School of Science and Math, allows teachers and schools to be really excited to sign on for this. The other piece is if there are already relationships in place between the provider and districts. So we've also found that this could come out of any kind of organization. So this might be from an institute of higher education, it might be from a state department of education, it could even be from one district to another or from one school to another within the same district. So those are all really important pieces to factor. And then the final 2 pieces here are thinking around, are there curricular resources already available? We know that this is already a really tough job to be able to provide this job-embedded professional development for teachers. So it's hard to also build the plane as you fly it. So if there's already a great repository of curricular resources, that will only make this job easier and be able to be much more targeted. It also allows the remotely located multi-classroom leader to coach their team teachers towards using those resources with excellence, which we know is really hard often for teachers to be able to just take something and implement it and execute. That support is really helpful for them to implement that with fidelity. And then finally, funding. So we know that while the remotely located multi-classroom leader model is based on being really sustainable, it's also something that needs some planning to be able to stand up, and especially so when you're combining the efforts of multiple districts and multiple schools. So we encourage you to consider if there's also funding available to be able to fund these initial planning efforts. So if this is interesting to you, I encourage you to reach out, and I'll let Melissa wrap this up.
I'd like to point to some of the things that Hunter K. and 10 has been passionate about. Access to higher level coursework is really important in high school, and this is a way for us to have an excellent support for our teachers that are trying to do really Herculean things across distance. Additionally, teachers need opportunities to be innovative and to take initiative and to really learn and grow within the classroom without leaving the classroom. And so I would encourage you, if you have the opportunity culture link here, to follow up on this interesting model. And if you have any questions for Grayson or myself, our contact information is available, and we'd be glad to follow up with you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.